Yo, peace everybody. Midweek installation of Who Don't Know Shit About Boxing. The reason I'm doing this is I seen all the cats out the bag now about the Floyd Mayweather Andre Berto fight September 12th, and there's some other news in the boxing world that I wanted to touch on real quick. But the reason I'm doing this video right now is I seen Dan Rafael say something on ESPN about Amir Khan deserved better from Floyd Mayweather. So for the general public and those of you who watch this video, watch the series, I'm trying to give you guys a little insight of how exactly the formation of a boxing main event goes, because it does occur differently than undercards and then the local fights that you guys might be familiar with that happen in your own hometowns and amateur bouts and such with and so forth. Dan Rafael's headline on ESPN was Amir Khan deserved better from Floyd Mayweather. And I normally agree with Dan Rafael. However, this time I'm not in agreement, and this is the reason why. I, along with myself and many other boxing fans and hardcore boxing fans, do not find Amir Khan that overall impressive. Good hand speed. He's disciplined in training camp, but in the ring, it just, he throws so much shit to the wind. He all too often abandons his game plans when he steps into the ring against his opponent, gets baited into a lot of unnecessary slugfests, and has a very, very low ring IQ for someone who's supposed to be a fighter of that caliber. He just doesn't really leave much to be desired in terms of bringing a lot of pure boxing skills to the table. And as he's moved up in weight, there's no power. So the reason I think that Floyd Mayweather is overlooking Amir Khan is not because he's scared. It's just what you're looking at right now is on the business end. It's going to be difficult to get Khan as a marquee name, and you have to keep in mind that he's from another country. Him coming from England, you know what I mean. There's pay-per-view sales for that, and that's not to say he can't do the same thing with Manny Pacquiao out there being from another country. But Khan isn't even a huge draw in England. You have Kell Brook, you have Tyson Fury, who's a heavyweight, who's about to fight Klitschko. There are other bigger draws than Amir Khan. Don't let what everybody knows is Amir Khan, the persona of it, kind of guide you into this. Like he's the biggest thing out of England. He's not. And also, Floyd fights in September. He fights in May and September. I'm a Muslim. And I do like Amir Khan. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's the greatest thing ever, but I do like him. And I support him because he's a Muslim. But Ramadan throws a huge monkey wrench in trying to train for a fight. All right. As a former fighter and someone who practices Ramadan, it's very difficult to train regularly for a fight and then expect to have a marquee one. Floyd overstands that, and that's why I think that's a huge determining factor is that Khan wouldn't be ready for a fight coming off of Ramadan when it was this year to fight September 12th. So that's probably the biggest reason he passed over him, because Khan is inactive for a whole month and, whatever. And that's just really why they're passing on Amir Khan again. And I just don't think Floyd thinks he's worth the shot, and which he's really not. However, that brings me to this. Why Andre Berto? I'm actually a little perplexed about this, honestly, and I've voiced in previous videos in the past why I don't like Berto. He let me down as a fan. I had a lot of high hopes for him. A lot of people I know that were huge boxing fans had a lot of hope for Andre Berto. It's just he just continuously let us down, much in the same light as Zab Judah did. Every time he got to the big ticket, it was just a disappointment. And then he had shoulder injury, and then the steroid scandal or the performance-enhancing drugs, however you want to refer to it. That also threw a huge dark cloud over Andre Berto's career. And then his last 6 fights, he lost 3 of them. So he's batting 500 in 6 fights, and that's not good. To break it down for the casual boxing fan, every 20 fights, you're pretty much allowed to lose 1 unless it's really good competition. So if you're looking at a fighter with more than 3 losses, you have to kind of gauge the opponents that he's been facing. If he's struggling with bums, then, and he lost to Jesus Soto Carras, who had 10 losses. That's unexcusable. Specifically, again, as a fighter of Andre Berto's touted caliber, to lose 10 fights, inexcusable. And then he had actually lost to 2 people that Floyd Mayweather had beat, with the Ghost Guerrero and Victor Ortiz. So I don't know why Floyd picked him. out of everybody else, this is what I'm going to wager, is just because it is an easier fight. People are already throwing shade at Floyd and giving him flack because he's taking the easy way out for his 49th fight. So what? He's earned it. There isn't a fighter alive that hasn't taken easy fights at the end of their career. Every single one has. It doesn't matter how great they have been. They take easy fights at the end of their career. One, it's part of the paying dues that you do as a fighter. Two, it's easiest on your body. Three, why are you going to unnecessarily put yourself in danger at the end of your career? Muhammad Ali did it. He took easier fights and then came back for tougher fights, and it didn't bode well for him. Tyson picked his opponents pretty clearly at the end of his career. Lennox Lewis did. Sugar Ray Leonard did. Shit, damn near every great fighter you can think of took easier fights at the end of the career. That's what fighters do. That's the farewell fight. That's what's there. That's there for, not to say everybody abides by the same rules, but that's kind of the unspoken rule of boxing. Once you get to a certain point, you take easier fights. Specifically, if you're trying to preserve a legacy, you don't want to ruin your legacy by your own hand. I mean, granted, it's the fight game, but that's what it is. On the undercard of the Mayweather fight on September 12th, it is going to be on pay-per-view, which is unfortunate because I had reported that it was going to be on CBS, as I was told it was going to be on CBS. Leonard Ellerbe, who is the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, said that basically this is going to go into how fights are made. It takes about 6 months to really make a main event. There's a lot of legal shit that you got to get through, a lot of red tape, and a lot of litigations that have to occur in order for a main event fight to happen. So 6 months was not enough time for CBS, so they're going to go ahead and finish out the deal with the Showtime Promotions contract, and that be it. On the undercard is Orlando Salido and Roman Martinez, who are going to have a rematch from the April 11th fight, which I'm excited about. I'm more excited about this fight than I am the main event because it was an absolute war the first time. Second time is going to be amazing. It's always great to see Mexico versus Puerto Rico, specifically on this big of a scale. And at the 130-pound division, you're looking at a lot of explosion. And since these guys have already got a taste of each other's power, I wouldn't necessarily bet on a knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised if it on either side. Martinez ended up winning the first one. Salido lost. It was an amazing fight, though. The other fight is going to be Badu Jack the Ripper versus George Groves of England. I don't know much about George Groves. Badu Jack ended up squeaking out a victory over Anthony Durrell for a middleweight title on PBC, and I was shocked at that. That was one of the few times I was completely wrong in my analysis of an upcoming fight, and that's what happens. Not everybody bats 1,000 in this boxing game. Specifically when predicting fights, it's a very tricky business. But those are going to be the undercards right there. On the Dan Rayfield piece, they had speculated different opponents for Floyd Mayweather, like Lucas Matisse. Who else was thrown up there? Keith Thurman. Some other people. The main reason that these guys weren't viable was because they're HBO fighters, or they're affiliated with Top Rank, and that's HBO versus Showtime. They made a very specific exception for Manny Pacquiao because it was touted as a super fight. That's what everybody wanted to see. And as Dan Rayfield said, and if you're going to do an HBO versus Showtime fight, two fighters that represent the different brands and the different promotion companies, you're going to have to make in excess of $400 million now, just because that's the precedent set by Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. That being said, Floyd's not going to go and chase other people in order to lose money, because people already aren't going to buy this fight because it's on pay-per-view. And Leonard Ellerbe had already said that they really don't care about that. Berto is going to be exciting, I guess, at some point. He is scrappy. He does like to fight. That's going to be somewhat of a draw for maybe some more than casual boxing fans. I know I'm going to order it just because I always do, and it's 4 days before my birthday. Floyd always wins for September 16th, which is my day, so I'm excited about that. But I expect the Floyd Mayweather win by unanimous decision. The other thing is people saying, why doesn't he move up to fight Triple G? Well, first off, Triple G had already announced that he's going to fight David Lemieux, and that fight was already in talks before this fight was even announced. So he was, removed from the equation already by his own hand. The other thing is, Triple G is huge. He's a big guy. He's a full-fledged middleweight. Floyd is not a full-fledged middleweight. He's come up from lightweight. But he's damn near 40. Floyd is going to be 40 in like a year and a half. You're not going to put that much size on yourself and try to go in there and contend. He's never weighed that much. Floyd walks around in 147 pounds, maybe 150, 52, 53 at the absolute most. And he's not going to jump up to fight a 165-pound guy. Even though Canelo came in at 165, that's rehydration. A middleweight rehydrating as opposed to a junior middleweight rehydrating are two different things. So you're not going to necessarily throw yourself in the line of fire. Would I think Floyd would beat Triple G? Absolutely. But I don't think it would be a healthy thing for him to do in terms of becoming, close to a middle-aged man. Even though he's an elite athlete, that is going to be a huge adjustment. If you look at football players that play that long, they have to readjust their whole training schedule in order to play long. James Harrison from the Pittsburgh Steelers is a perfect example. And Bernard Hopkins will tell you, he's had to train completely differently going into older age, fighting younger opponents. You have to completely, realign your nutritional plans, your physical training regimens, everything. So this is one thing I just wanted to bring out, in this edition of Who Don't Know Shit About Boxing. Also, Sergio Mora did indeed fracture his ankle in the fight against Danny Jacobs, and now Danny Jacobs is probably going to have to face a mandatory against Peter Quillen. That's what I'm thinking. Speaking of mandatories, Demetrius Andrade just got his WBF, I think, title, or WBO, I forget which belt it was, stripped from him for inactivity. If you guys remember, he ran from Jermell Charlo, in my opinion, in a contract with Showtime. So now, because of due to inactivity, I think it's 14 months or so, he has to surrender his title to the organization. And final thing, I guess Zab Judah's making a comeback. So what?